Good morning again. It's great to be with you today. We, in Bible study a few weeks ago, went through Hebrews the last part of chapter 6 and chapter 7 and 8. The book of Hebrews talks about Jesus being better than. He's better than the law of Moses. He's better than the high priest. He's our everything. And I just wanted to share with you what I found that I shared with them on Wednesday night a few weeks ago about Jesus being the anchor of our soul. It says in verse 19 of chapter 6, which hope we have as an anchor of the soul, both sure and steadfast, which entered into that with it in the veil. Whether the forerunner is for us entered in, even Jesus, made a high priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Now we know that Jesus was not of the Levitical tribe, so if he's to be a high priest, he's got to be a high priest through another order. And by that I mean that when Abraham was going to the battle with Sodom and Gomorrah, he came back and he met a high priest named Melchizedek, and he offered tithe to Melchizedek, and he asked Melchizedek to pray over him and to bless him. And so Jesus, they talked about in prophecy that the Messiah would be a high priest forever after the order of Melchizedek, whom Abraham honored as a high priest. And so Jesus is that high priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. And chapter 7 and 8 begin to talk to us about that hope we have in Jesus Christ, a better high priest. Verses 19 and 20 of chapter 7 read like this: For the law made nothing perfect, but the bringing in of a better hope did, by the which we draw near unto God, inasmuch as not without an oath he was made a high priest. Verses 22 says this: By so much was Jesus made a surety of a better testament. And there were truly many high priests, because they were not suffered to continue by reason of death. But this man, because he continues forever, has an unchangeable priesthood, by which he ever lives to make intercession for us. I think that's so marvelous. That is the hope that I have as an anchor of my soul. You see, between the bringing in of the high priestly reign and the Aaron and all of his descendants, there were only 300 people in all of that time between Moses to Jesus that were able to enter in to the inner sanctum, enter into that place where they could see God and feel his presence. But when Jesus came and that wall of petition was broken down, he became a great high priest, and now we can boldly enter into the throne room of God. And so that's so marvelous to me that he lives ever to make intercession for us. And then chapter 8 speaks to us about him being a better high priest. Verse 6 and 7 say this: But now has he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is a mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. If the law and the high priestly reigns would have been enough, Jesus wouldn't have needed to come and die for us. But for him to be the anchor of our soul, he had to bring a better covenant. And verse 10 says this, "For this is the covenant that I made, that I will make the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my law into their mind, and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people." I love that phrase throughout the Bible, from Genesis all the way through the book of Revelation. That phrase is used at least 33 times. And I will be to them a God. It's a promise. And they shall be to me a people. In the end, in the Revelation, it says this, "And now I am their God and they are my people." What a marvelous That's the anchor of my soul, knowing that God has promised me a place with Him in glory. And then listen to this. In verse 12, "For I will be merciful unto their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more." All of the things of the past are behind us and covered by this new covenant, by Jesus Christ. That's the anchor of your soul. We have a great high priest that has covered our sins to the place and to the point where God doesn't even remember that they were committed. That's the anchor of my soul. In that He says, "A new covenant has He made the first old. Now that which decays and wax old is ready to vanish away." Jesus, the anchor of my soul. He's the hope that I have. No matter what happens in our world today, He's the anchor of my soul, because He brought a better covenant. He brought a better way. And now we can turn to Him and enter boldly into the throne of grace, because we have access to the Father by the one who ever makes intercession for us. Our high priest will not die. And we won't have to put a new one in His place, because He is ever at the right hand of the Father. That's the anchor of my soul. God bless you, folks. We'll talk to you again soon.